Week 12 is here. Let's make some money.
College football is back, and we're back on the Big Mountain, where we bring you a detailed focus on the Big Ten and the Mountain West.
Hey, it's great to have you back. If you're new here, welcome to the Big Mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve. Steve, we're sitting here week 12 already, only a few weeks left in the regular season before we start thinking championship games and then bowls. It's hard to believe we're here already. But again, if you're new to the channel, we pick all the Big Ten games, or I should say Steve picks all the Big Ten games. I pick all the Mountain West games, sprinkle in a few other picks, to which I have a few this week. And we go from there. We have, I think, 3 locks in total this week. Looking to do better than last week. We were 0 for the first time on the Big Mountain, and we are going to correct that this week. Yeah. So, have at it, sir.
All right, let's roll right into the picks. I'm gonna come out swinging with a lock right away.
Good.
I think the last 2 weeks that was my first time going back-to-back misses on locks, so we're going to correct that. We're going to get back on track here. So my Penn State and Indy Lions are going to host Rutgers senior week. Coming off of that loss to Michigan where they played a just great defense, but just not enough offense to win that game. As we talked about in another episode, Penn State did fire their offensive coordinator. I just really expect Penn State just dominates Rutgers, just generally.
Yeah.
The Penn State is better in every facet of the game. Defense, special teams, offense. Even with their Penn State's offense struggling in those big games, they have way more firepower than Rutgers can handle. So the line is 20.5. I almost gave this as an early line earlier in the week, but I was kind of waiting to see with the OC being fired and different things going on. So I waited. It's actually now at 20.5. I still like it. I like it a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and lock Penn State to cover 20.5 over Rutgers.
Awesome. You got to think that, the defense dominates Rutgers here. I don't see Rutgers putting up many points at all. And you look at what the offense did against Maryland just a few weeks ago. And, I mean, they are able to put up big points here, and I think they would do that against a Rutgers team. So, yeah, 3 touchdowns plus. I like the pick a lot.
Rutgers was just shut out, I think, by Iowa. Totally shut out.
Right, 22-0.
Yes. So I expect more of the same, and I expect Penn State's defense or offense to be even better than Iowa's. So,
yeah.
All right. So moving forward. Michigan is at Maryland. They're 19.5-point favorites. So, Michigan, they have coming off a very emotional win. We don't know what's going on with Jim Harbaugh, but either way, even if the court case doesn't go their way, Jim Harbaugh is still involved in the day-to-day throughout the week. Yep. For a head coach like that, if you had your choice to pick, would you want him on the sidelines during the game, or would you want him there all week helping with the game plan, the preparation, and everything? I think that, what they've shown there is they have the assistant coaches, they have the senior leadership that can handle the in-game situations. Maryland did pick up a win last week at Nebraska. I was a little surprised, but I expect just an absolute beating by Michigan. So the line is 19.5. Almost locked this game, but just kind of some stuff up in the air with Harbaugh and whatever. So I'm not going to go ahead and lock it, but I really do like Michigan to cover 19.5.
I agree. I was waiting to hear if you were going to lock that one. I like that line a lot. I think Michigan rolls on that. So I don't blame you because of some of the intangible stuff happening on not locking it. But, man, I like that line a whole bunch.
Absolutely. Well, another consideration I had is we talked about this in the reaction video. J.J. McCarthy was a little gimpy. So after the Penn State game, he got hit by the defense a lot. I could see them basically just kind of pull. I'm sure he'll be fine to play the game. He's a tough kid.
Right.
And he'll be fine to play, but I could see them maybe pulling him early.
Yeah.
Just to kind of back off after they just got off that physical game at Penn State. So as close to a lock as it can be without locking it. Really like Michigan to cover those 19.5. Yeah. So moving forward, Michigan and Indiana, or Michigan State at Indiana, excuse me. Indiana is a 4.5-point favorite. Michigan State is just, they've struggled all year. It is what it is. We've covered them, extensively all season. Indiana has started to show some signs of improvement, starting with the game at Penn State, and they've continued with that.
Yes.
They are 4.5-point favorites. It's in Indiana. I like them by about a touchdown, so I'm going to go ahead and take Indiana to cover 4.5.
Okay. Yeah, they have definitely been trending in the right direction for the past several weeks, for sure.
I think you're going to like this next pick.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Okay. So, Purdue at Northwestern. All right. Northwestern started the season. Like I've said, they were a dumpster fire to begin the season. Lose their coach right before.
Yeah.
Talent level is just down low. Now they have basically came back the last couple of weeks and really last 2 or 3 weeks really started to show something. And you gave me a little bit of hassle for not picking Northwestern, and I should have.
Yeah.
Their interim coach just got the interim tag taken off, and they signed him to a contract. He's going to be the full-time coach going forward.
Okay.
The game is at Northwestern. Neither one of these teams is a real good team.
Right.
I think it's probably about a coin flip. Northwestern is getting 3 points.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead in this coin flip game and take Northwestern plus the 3 points.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
A team that you were not high on at all this year. If they win this game, I'm going to buy you a Northwestern hat, and you can wear it for our reaction video.
Okay. All right. Okay. I like it. Okay. So
assuming I can find one that quickly,
Yeah.
which is highly unlikely. But anyway.
I do like, the purple, and I could wear that. Okay.
All right.
All right. So Illinois at Iowa. Now this I am expecting a barn burner. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe the fans are going to burn down some barns after because they're going to be so pissed at no scoring whatsoever.
Yeah.
So Illinois is at Iowa. Iowa's a 3.5 point favorite, and I like that. I like them to go ahead and win. Would I love it even more at like 2.5? Yes.
Right.
But I think they win this game, I think, between a field goal and a touchdown. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. Iowa to cover 3.5. What I really like is the total score is under 30.5.
I was going to ask what that was.
Yes.
And you got it. Okay.
Yeah, right. So I really like that. Neither one of these is a good offensive team.
Right.
They both have good, solid defenses. They like to run the ball and run out the clock and just keep things low. So I'm going to go ahead and lock the under 30.5 for this game. So we're going to go ahead and so Illinois at Iowa under 30.5 is going to be a Big Mountain ice cold lock.
And dare I say, same game parlay possibilities, both on the game under and the spread. It hit for us last week on that Iowa game. Yep. So, again, something else you might want to take a look at if you like doing parlays. Look at that same game parlay for the Iowa game.
Yeah, great point. And I'm not usually a parlay guy, but you talked me into it last week, and I won a lot of money on doing that on those picks. So, I definitely like it. That's a great one to do a same game parlay.
Yep.
Same game parlay. So, all right, moving forward, the last 2 games here: Minnesota at Ohio State. The line is 27.5, which is a big line. It's in Columbus. And now here's the thing about Michigan and Ohio State right now. They're both in that college football playoff hunt. They're both kind of in a position. I think after this week's rankings, they're 2-3 now, or maybe 2-4. Ohio State dropped down to 2, where they're both in a position where the winner of that game is definitely going to make the playoff.
Right.
But they're also in the position where the loser of that game, just like last year, could very well sneak into that 4th spot.
Absolutely.
So I think both of these teams are going to want to continue to make statements here. They got one more game before they play each other. Michigan's coming off of that physical game against Penn State. Right. Ohio State playing Minnesota in the shoe. Minnesota's secondary is awful. I mean, they probably have the worst secondary in the entire Big Ten. Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr. is very, very possibly the best overall football player in the country.
Yeah.
Ohio State does not lack for talent at the wide receiver position. So I'm going to go ahead and take them to cover 27.5. Feel pretty good about it. Not quite good enough to lock it.
Yeah.
But really solid. I feel really good about Ohio State covering 27.5 as they host Minnesota.
Well, and Harrison is good against great defenses.
Yeah.
So if this is a defense that is subpar, substantially subpar, you just got to put the ball in his general vicinity, and he'll march you down the field. It really doesn't matter. So, yeah, I totally get that. I mean, if somebody's going to be scoring points, it'll be Ohio State. So
totally agree. And also Ohio State, I believe they're finally kind of healthy. Their running backs were, I believe, Travion Henderson has played the last 2 games and has looked better and better.
Yeah.
I think all of their running backs are healthy right now. So they can beat them both ways. I don't see Minnesota being able to stop them. I could easily see this being up in the 33, 35, high 30 range that they beat them by. So,
Okay.
All right, Nebraska. I'm going to end this on a doozy, okay? Nebraska at Wisconsin.
That's a doozy.
Yes. So, two kind of disappointing teams. You know that I was high on Wisconsin to start the season.
Yep.
And they started out okay. They were collecting wins, and their offense just wasn't, doing well. But they were finding ways to win. Well, that has basically they're on tilt at this point. And that's a phrase you like to say.
I love saying that.
Yeah, Wisconsin is on tilt right now. Nebraska. I don't know that Nebraska is a better team, but their coach just kind of has them headed in the right direction. Even though they lost to Maryland, who's a pretty talented offensive team. I see this as a coin flip game, even though it's in Wisconsin. So Nebraska's getting 4.5 points, even though we're in Wisconsin. I see it as a coin flip, so I'm going to go ahead and take Nebraska plus the 4.5.
Well, I'm surprised by that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was down on Wisconsin last week. I know that it was Wisconsin Northwestern, right? Is that what it was last week?
Yes, I think so.
And I said that I think the spread was 11 or something like that. And so Wisconsin's going to struggle to score points. So give me the 11 points, and I didn't even need them because Northwestern won the freaking
straight
game.
up.
But I struggle with that one a little bit because Nebraska has been so. I don't want to say they're up and down, but they're down and down and up and a little bit of up and down and down. You know what I mean? So I feel like if there's one team that could get a lot higher here, it would be Wisconsin, but they haven't showed it. So.
No. And Nebraska was kind of starting to show that upward trend until they lost to Maryland, who does have a lot of offensive talent.
They do.
I hear you. I struggled with this game either way.
Yeah.
I'm not really confident that either one of these teams is going to win. So that's really why I went. Like,
take the points.
if it was pre 1992 or whatever, and the games could end 0-0 or 3-3. Yeah. I would pick that. But so that's why basically I'm just going to take Nebraska plus the points. Plus 4.5. That gives them that cushion even over a field goal. If Wisconsin wins this game 6-3 or 9-6 or something.
Yeah, that field goal's important for sure. And another game, you may want to look at a same game parlay going under. I have no idea what it is. It's going to be in the 30s, I would guess. Maybe mid 30s, and I kind of like the under in that game because Wisconsin's offense just can't. They're not scoring points right now.
So maybe we can look at that as a game day pick. We'll look at the over under that morning, and we'll do some texting, and maybe we'll send that out to us. We'll see how it looks. Send that out for a game day pick.
Been a couple weeks since I've done some game day picks, but I that's one that I could like, and I kind of have a little teaser on game day picks with mine, possibly with mine as well. So we'll see how things go here. Why don't you go over yours, then we'll get into the Mountain West.
Sure. So to start off right away, Rutgers at Penn State. I have Penn State to cover 20.5 as my first Big Mountain ice cold lock of the week. I have Michigan covering 19.5 over Maryland. I have Indiana covering 4.5 over Michigan State. I'm going to go ahead and take Northwestern plus the points over Purdue, so Northwestern plus 3. I'm taking Iowa to cover 3.5 points as they host Illinois, but I'm going to lock the under 30.5 for that game. And as JY pointed out, great opportunity for a same-game parlay there. Minnesota at Ohio State. I love Ohio State to cover that 27.5. Almost locked it. Didn't quite lock it, but I feel really good about that. Ohio State covering 27.5. Nebraska, Wisconsin, I don't feel good about this game either way, so I'm just going to go ahead and take Nebraska plus the points, so Nebraska plus 4.5 as they travel to Wisconsin. What do you got for us, JY?
Sounds good, sir. Well, let's get into the Mountain West, and I have a lot of question marks on my sheet here, mainly because I have been trying to do some research on some of these injuries to players, and I just can't find jack, and it's a struggle. So
can I say real quick before you start? And
yes.
That's why I do think it's a little bit more difficult for you picking these Mountain West games. Some of these teams don't have the full in-depth coverage of a Michigan, Ohio State, and so it's harder for you to find that information, and it increases volatility.
It does, and I'm going to mention that through 3 or 4 of my games because I got burnt on that volatility last week, and I'll be damned if it happens again. So let's start with the first game here, Hawaii at Wyoming. I feel like I start with Wyoming all the time. They had 2 weeks in a row where they played on Friday night, so that's a big reason why. And they've got the earliest game here at 2 o'clock. So the Fighting Rainbow Warriors travel to Laramie. Wyoming has been fantastic at home this year. They have not been as good on the road this year. Perfect at home. They are the favorite at minus 13.5. You know me. I am taking the Cowboys here at 13.5. I thought long and hard about a lock on this, honestly. Just because as good as Wyoming has played at home, I see them rolling here heavy. My hesitation is the Hawaii offense, specifically the Hawaii pass offense. It has done really well the past few weeks. You saw what they did against Air Force last week, for Pete's sake. So that gives me a little bit of worry, and the reason I'm not locking this, but I did think about it. This is senior week or senior game or whatever. Obviously, that'll play into it, but they're just beasts at home. I like them at 13.5. And that's why another reason I'm thinking about a lock. At 14.5, I'm not even thinking lock, but at the 2 touchdowns.
Right under that 2 touchdowns.
Really like the Cowboys here. Not going to lock it, but I really like them. Next one is Nevada at Colorado State. Colorado State is the favorite at minus 11.5. Maybe slightly higher than I would want it to be, but I'm going back to where I had these teams in the beginning. Colorado State is the overall better team. Yeah, Nevada got those 2 strong wins a couple weeks ago, but I see the Rams winning this game. Again, it's in Colorado State, so I think it'll be a bit of a struggle here for Nevada to get some points against the Rams. So I'll take Colorado State at minus 11.5. A little bit higher than I'd like, but still comfortable with the home team there.
Okay.
So my first question mark here, we've got UNLV at Air Force. A huge game, probably the biggest game, not probably, the biggest game of the Mountain West for these two teams, and the potential of one of these two teams being in the championship game.
Number 1 and number 2 in the standings as we sit right now.
Correct, as we sit right now. So huge game, and Air Force coming off 2 losses in a row to teams that they shouldn't be losing to, and UNLV just riding all kinds of momentum. You know, if you had any question coming out of the Fresno loss, question no more.
Right.
Just rolling through people here. My question mark on this is Larrier, the quarterback for Air Force. I found one tweet about him being out. No sort of details as to why or what. If you recall, he injured his knee against Wyoming early on, and he was supposed to be out for weeks.
And came back quickly.
And he came back the next week.
Yeah.
This is, according to what I saw, another knee injury.
Yeah.
I question if we're even going to see him again. I don't know that. That's me speculating. But I'll tell you, if Air Force doesn't have him, they're not going to win this game. And UNLV's getting points here, Steve. They're getting 3.5 points. I know it's at Air Force, but heck, look 2 weeks ago. They got upset by Army at Air Force. So I think UNLV is riding all kinds of momentum. They've got the offense in order to score some points here against Air Force. And I'm really worried about Air Force's offense, especially against Hawaii last week. And they don't have a good defense. So I am going plus 3.5 on UNLV.
Makes sense. UNLV is probably the hottest team in the conference. Air Force they're on tilt. They're dropping like a rock right out of the sky.
And 2 weeks ago, who'd have thought it? I mean, just unbelievable how quickly things can turn. Next one, Boise State at Utah State. Boise State a little bit. They're not on tilt in terms of wins and losses, but on tilt in terms of losing their head coach. Losing their number 1 wide receiver. Again, I don't know where Genty's at in this game. Didn't see any updates on him. He has missed several games in a row now, which is not good. But I'm going to take the Broncos here at minus 3.5. They've really I think they've gotten their game together here once they've hit the Mountain West schedule. I had them as a much better team coming into the season than Utah State. Utah State has impressed. Their offense has been really, really strong, and their defense has actually been better than I actually thought they would be. But I like Boise here. They're just a more complete team overall. It doesn't mean they're going to win the game. But if I have to pick a team right now, who would scare me more to cover 3.5? Absolutely, Boise does right now. So I'm taking the Broncos at minus 3.5. Another question mark. Our buddy Keene with Fresno. So New Mexico travels to Fresno. He was knocked out of the last game. I haven't seen an update on him either. I'm not as concerned about this call as I am the other two that I just mentioned, just because Fife has shown he can come in and play well, and because they're playing New Mexico. So a little bit of a different situation than the Air Force UNLV game and the Boise Utah State game. The Lobos are just there at the bottom of the conference. So I don't think this question mark doesn't affect me as much, but I'm going to take Fresno here. They're coming off that huge loss to San Jose State. They're back home here against, again, a bottom dweller of the Mountain West right now, while they have shown some improvement. The line's 23.5. I like them to cover this. I think they bounce back incredibly. And Fresno has to win out here in order to make the championship game. So some huge games here coming up in the last 2 weeks.
This is their chance to save their season. They looked like for a long time that they were tracking well to maybe make it a year 6.
Yep.
Definitely be in, and with a couple losses now, they're in trouble, but this is their chance to save their season.
Absolutely. I think they've got the team to do it. They're very strong all around. I think they show that they are, they're ready for that Mountain West championship game. I think they try to roll through these last 2 games. So my first lock, last game of the Mountain West schedule, San Diego State at San Jose State. The line is only 14.5 here. I scratch my head because I think, yikes. I don't know how San Diego State's going to keep up with the San Jose State offense. They have just shown the past several weeks they're the offense I thought they were going to be to start the season, just scoring points at will, and their running game. Like, I was big on their passing game early on. That's why I like their offense. But their running game has been fantastic. And yes, San Diego State's defense is good, but I said it last week. I'm going to say it again this week. If that defense is on the field all the time, they're not going to stop this San Jose State's offense. They're just not. And I don't see them keeping this close. I'm really surprised at 14.5. So I'm locking the Spartans of San Jose State at minus 14.5.
Love it.
So I got 2 other picks for you. I was back and forth on a lot. I've been looking at the Sun Belt. I've been looking at the American. I was really struggling with some of those teams. And who do I want to go with? I'm actually going to go back to the Pac-12. Haven't made a call on a Pac-12 game for a while. UCLA at USC. UCLA, a team that's been sliding here a little bit. You actually mentioned that on our last power ranking video, a team that we could see continue to slide out of our top 10. I think that is, based on last week at least, I think that's going to happen. And they're going into USC here. USC's only a 6.5 favorite. I'm a little surprised by that, given the way USC can score points. Again, you're putting USC's offense out there a lot more than UCLA's offense, I think. So I think the time of possession here is dramatically in USC's favor. I'm surprised this is only a touchdown game, so I'm taking USC at minus 6.5.
There's a lot of reports out there. Chip Kelly's basically they've made the decision to fire him.
Right.
So we don't know how that'll play into it. Maybe the team kind of quits. Maybe they rally around him, but I'm not sure they have much to play for at this point.
Yeah.
It is a big rivalry.
It is a big rivalry. But this is one of the top offenses in the country here. So I'm taking the Trojan. The last one I have, and I got to preface this around again, I don't know about the quarterback. Daniels for Rice. 4th week in a row. I'm going back to the Owls. I hit with them twice. They let me down a little bit last week. I took that on myself because I didn't know Daniels was going to be out. I looked to see if he was going to play. I do not know. It is a concussion sort of thing. So that's one of those things, obviously, you just don't know. They may not know till the game day or the day before. But they're playing at Charlotte. The over-under here is 46.5. I'm going to take the over 46.5. I am going to also say, if Daniels plays in this game, I am locking this at over 46.5. We mentioned a game day pick. If I find out that that's the case, we'll definitely do some game day picks on this stuff. I'll make sure I put that lock out there. But I'm telling you right now, if he ends up playing in the game and it's known before game time and you can still get these bets in, I will make that an ice cold lock because I really like that over 46.5. If Daniels plays in this game, they're well over 46.5. So I'm guessing it's a little low right now because of the unknown of his ability. So let's go back over these here real quick. We got Wyoming playing Hawaii at home, minus 13.5. We've got Nevada going to Colorado State. I'm taking the Rams at minus 11.5. UNLV going to the surprisingly struggling all of a sudden Air Force Falcons. I'm taking UNLV plus 3.5 points. Boise State at Utah State. I'm going to take Boise at minus 3.5. New Mexico Lobos going up to Fresno State. I'm going to take the Bulldogs at minus 23.5. Then my one big mountain ice cold lock for the Mountain West is San Diego State at San Jose State, and I'm taking the Spartans at minus 14.5. My 2 other picks, UCLA at USC. I like the Trojans here at minus 6.5. And then Rice at Charlotte at over 46.5. And that becomes a lock if Daniels is going to play in that game. For now, it's just a regular pick. So that's where we're at. Anything you want to add there, Steve?
No, we'll keep an eye on things and just keep an eye on our channel for some possible game day picks.
Yep.
Maybe Friday evening into Saturday morning.
Yep. We'll keep an eye on that. We haven't done them for a while. I think it's about time we get back to that anyway. So, hey, with that, we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.